is, and they don't even put into the document what the standard is for cleaning up the building. That's hidden from you as well. So, Phil said that EPA's position is that anything in that risk range, from 1 in 10,000 to 1 in a million risk, anything in that is protective. You can go anywhere you want to in that risk range. And he clearly intends to go to the highest, to the 10 to the minus 4 level, which, as I told you, is really 10 to the minus 2, which means 1 in 100 risk. Every 100th person exposed at those levels, according to EPA, would get a cancer from it. Grossly outside of anything that has ever been permitted for a carcinogen. But he says that, EPA says that's fine, that you can do it anywhere in the risk range, and that's false. The EPA CERCLA guidance is clear, and they say they're going to try to comply with it for once, but they aren't. The EPA guidance is clear. If you can't meet 10 to the minus 6 risk, or 1 in a million risk, you can fall back somewhat if you can show you really can't meet it. But you can only fall back from that the absolute minimum necessary. And you have to demonstrate by balancing, that it's 9 balancing criteria under CERCLA. You have to do that balancing, there has to be public participation, and you have to get as close to 10 to the minus 6 as you can, close to as a 1 in a million risk as you can. But Phil described it, we can do anything we want to between 10 to the minus 6 and 10 to the minus 4. Which means, when he told you they're no longer going to do the 15 millirem, they're intending to do the same thing they always planned to do. Leave these huge quantities of radioactivity behind. Now, they have also segmented this process. The fundamental sin in environmental law is to artificially segment an analysis of environmental impacts. Do you know that there's never been an environmental impact statement for the cleanup of this site? $250 million radiological cleanup, one of the only places in the world there's been a meltdown of a reactor. There have been serious accidents at 3 other reactors, at least on the property. They've got tritium plume in the soil. They have never done an environmental impact statement. And what they're now doing with this is they're segmenting, looking at one building, looking at another building, and now looking, they claim under CERCLA, but they're not going to do the rest of it under CERCLA, and they are telling you they're going to leave the property sometime in the next few months and release it from unrestricted housing. None of that's analyzed in this document. To make one other point at the moment, and then I'm going to stop, and I have other comments. I want to let other people come. I want to get my stuff in the record. This is, I know you would be frustrated because the record is asking you to comment on a document you weren't permitted to see. But one other comment. Phil told you that there were only 2 alternatives. Analyzing this document, there were only 2 alternatives possible. And what he said was, our way or no way. Clean it up the way they're proposing, which is to very lax standards, huge risk. We're not cleaning it up at all. Pretty remarkable that those are the only 2 choices. Those aren't the only 2 choices. The real choices are to clean it up consistent with CERCLA, to clean it up consistent with the current zoning, to clean it up to as close to 10 to the minus 6 as is humanly possible. So he's told you, we want to leave a ton of stuff behind, and your choice is to let us leave a ton of radioactivity behind, or let us leave all of it behind. Those aren't the 2 choices, and that violates CERCLA also. It makes a mockery of attempting to comply with public participation. It misrepresents that EPA is signed off. It misrepresents the possibility that the public has had meaningful comments. It says, for example, that we will, after the comment period is over, figure out how we're going to measure for these radioactive materials. But the public will be frozen out of that as well. It says that EPA has signed off and all of its comments have been included. False. EPA said that it had to review the sampling analysis plan that's supposed to be done before the cleanup starts. Boeing, DOE, same thing. Change that, despite what EPA demanded. So EPA now doesn't get to comment about the sampling before it's done in terms of the finding the contamination. It only gets to comment about the post cleanup final survey. EPA gets to at least comment on that one. You're frozen out of both. And this is with a company that is a convicted environmental felon, indicted by a federal grand jury, pled guilty to multiple environmental crimes, has a history of fabricating its radiation and chemical data. And so you're left out of that loop as well, and none of the protocols are in the ICA for you to even be able to comment on, although even if you could comment, they'd ignore them. But they're pretending you have input. So it's a fraud, and people will be hurt, injured, die, because their intention is to leave vast amounts of radioactivity behind and then put homes on top of it, which EPA has said unsafe, and yet it's being characterized as EPA now says it's okay to go ahead. So I'm going to sit down. You all should comment to the extent you can, but I would urge you, if you feel you can't comment meaningfully because you were handed the document as you walked in, ask for that extension, and ask for them to mail out this to everybody, and ask that they start disclosing in the document the true aspects of the cleanup that you ought to be able to comment on, rather than hiding them until after the comment period's over, so that you really haven't had a chance to comment at all. It's enough for me now. Thank you.
We'll take everything that Dan said under advisement. We are in the record, so I'll go through it. It's kind of hard for me to follow the many claims that Dan made during his speech to you there. A couple of things that I will absolutely respond to right now is saying that we did not provide this ICA in good faith, and I will say to you that that's absolutely false. We did provide this document in good faith. We did provide the document to EPA for their review and their comment. And I know that as a matter of fact through my multiple discussions that I had with the EPA representatives for this document. Now, where Dan gets the source of his information, I'm not exactly sure, but I know from my multiple discussions with the EPA representatives, they had an opportunity to comment on the document as it exists today.
I just want to clarify for the record, because we have a transcript and this is probably going to end up in court. I didn't say you didn't give it to EPA. I said you didn't give it to the public. I said that you've ignored EPA's comments about it and EPA's prior comments. So let me be crystal clear. The ICA was not up on your website when you published the ad. The URLs on the web, ads didn't take you to the proper website. You didn't mention the ICA in the mailing that was sent out to the public, its availability, comment period. You handed it out to people as they came in today. You didn't notify reporters that it was available and that there was a comment period. You didn't try to stimulate news stories, and you didn't notify the legislators. So all you did was place 2 ads in fine print in newspapers with incorrect information in them, and then hand stuff out to people as they walked into a meeting and told them, comment. And if you can't comment now, we'll give you 7 days. So that's what I said. I didn't say you didn't give it to EPA. I said you didn't give it to them.
Next, sir.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Crawford. I run the website rocketdynewatch.org. I also am the Senior Environmental Specialist for Physicians for Social Responsibility. I worked for Ventura County Supervisor Linda Parks for 2.5 years as her environmental specialist, and I represented the communities of Bell Canyon and Amundsen Ranch. Been following this for about 6 years now, and I have to say that I unfortunately echo Dan's opinion, which is, you know, same old stuff, different day. Anyway, I would like to start off by saying we were told by the Department of Energy that Mike Lopez was fired for obstructing public participation, answering FOIA requests, and so forth. And then they said, oops, I guess we shouldn't have said that. So I hope that it does indeed represent a new era of change in the DOE and Boeing's approach to this whole site. And I would say, unfortunately, this doesn't bode well for a new opening leaf. I have to say, again, that this whole notification process is certainly less than satisfactory. In 6 years, I've certainly never seen less notification for a plan or a meeting or anything like that, and especially something as critical as one of the 2 remaining buildings on site.